Hello and welcome to Sounds. On tonight's episode of Sounds, I'm doing a collaboration with a friend. We've been wanting to do something together for quite some time, and we were working on a little project here, and I was providing my friend here, who I'm going to tell you about in a second, with some music for something that he was doing. And with Halloween coming up, we all of a sudden got the idea that it would be nice to do a show with Edgar Allan Poe. So tonight, on tonight's episode of Sound, we're going to be performing for you something done as a collaboration on The Telltale Heart, a story of murder, paranoia, and insanity. So at this time, I'd like to introduce you to Jack Celli, guest on Sounds.
Hi, Mark.
Hi, Jack.
Insanity.
That's what this.
Yeah,
that's what this is about, right? It's The Telltale Heart is about murder, insanity, and paranoia.
Paranoia, guilt.
Guilt, right?
Yeah.
And in the end, I think the guy throughout the story, he's trying to convince you that he's not really insane, but in the end, his insanity gives him away.
You know, years ago.
Isn't that true? Is that right?
His insanity absolutely gives him away. Years ago, I went to school, many lives lived. You know, I wanted to be a gym teacher, and then I went into psychology. You know, right down the line, I tried to do everything because I never really knew what I wanted to do. But when I was taking psychology, when you take psychology, I don't know if you ever did, you think you have every disease that they talk about. I mean, when they study schizophrenia, I had schizophrenia. When they studied paranoia, I had them all, each and every one that we studied. I don't know if that's natural, but one of the cool things they said about psychotics, first of all, the saying went, neurotics build castles, psychotics live in them. Right. And this guy built his castle and lived in it, but it all caught up with him at the end.
The thing I like about this story is that, like I said, the murderer is throughout the story, who's telling the story, is trying to convince you that he's not really crazy, but at the same time he's saying how all his senses are heightened, like his sense of hearing, and all this builds, and then at the end, like I said before, his paranoia and his insanity is what gives him away. I mean, at one point, isn't he? At one point, he's saying what an impeccable job he's trying to do of covering up the thing. It's such a great story.
Yeah. And the cool thing about it is that, like, the way it's written in the first person. It's almost like, you know, when you're reading it, you're actually telling the story, or you're actually going through the same thought process that you know, the villain, the murderer, went through. So it's kind of almost like a natural story to read. You know, with the intention of telling a story. You're not telling a story about someone, you're actually telling a story about yourself. This all came through about, like you said, an idea of us collaborating, you know, also with Carl Pemerini. Here we talked about doing something for Halloween. And, you know, the neat thing was we wanted to do something scary, and Poe just naturally came out. And we had fun with it. It was a cold read, bang, bang, bang. You came in and just totally improvised a new song.
Well, yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the process of which you've already started to do, but of what we did today. You know, after we initially got the idea, you know, we were kind of, hey, this will be cool to do, and so I called up Jack the next day, and I says. And I told him something that I was thinking of, and he had already laid down The Telltale Heart, which I thought is great. I'm a big fan of Edgar Allan Poe's poetry and stories, and you had already laid down the story and the reading, and so where this ties in with my show is that on the music end of it, I just Well, you tell them what we did. We took the film over.
Yeah, first of all, I want everybody to know that I'm no intellectual. When I read something like that, I've done some acting. I just basically try to find a flow and go with it. And sometimes you hit on it, and sometimes you don't. And you know when you hit on it, and you know when you're not hitting on it. So, I've had an idea. We'll shoot it in black and white. We'll kind of make it look like old film, get in the mood, and I just sat down and started to read it. And coming from the first person, you get into that insane mindset. Just let it fly. Yep. And then when you watched it, you said, "Wow, we got to put some music to this." And why don't you tell them about that?
well, yeah. Like after we did that, I wanted to, being an improviser, I could have composed a piece, and I mean that's what I've said before on the show. That's what improvisers do. We compose on the spot. But we took the film over to the Unitarian Church so we could use the acoustic piano. And we took the film and we hooked up a monitor and we put the earphones on, and I just improvised to your enthusiasm for the story and your reading of the story. And I remember right before we went over, I says, "Look, man, we start laying this down, all I got to do is play in a minor key." And I started playing in the key of C minor, and I just started going. But what's, when we were talking a little bit about in creativity and in art, a lot of good things that happen are dependent on a chain reaction. And basically what I did is I just started playing, and I listened and watched Jack on the monitor, and I was playing to his dynamics and his dynamics of his reading, and it became a chain reaction. When he went, I went, and I think we came out with something that's pretty cool.
And we could even take this to the next level. When we were recording the sound, we actually had a camera hooked up, and when you were playing, I was filming, and I kind of got into the flow of that. And I mean, as far as the film we did of just your hands on the piano keys, that might stand up as a piece on its own, but that's another story.
Right. Yeah. This
was
this one.
Just watching it.
Yeah.
Was a ball.
But I had a lot of fun doing this, Jack, and it's it's just so good to be involved in something like this. And we've been trying to think of some things. Although Jack and I, we've collaborated on some things. Jack has helped me a lot with my shows and stuff. But this is a good thing to do, I think.
It was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good for Halloween.
So.
Oh God.
So I think should we take a look at this thing?
Yeah, let's go for it.
I think this is going to be good. The Telltale Heart by Edgar Allan Poe.